last year alone, NASA dropped over 400 hours of free video content, and the average American only watched like 3 minutes of it total. Yeah, you heard that, right? 3 minutes. Meanwhile, we are out here arguing about pineapple on pizza, while actual rocket scientists are casually explaining how the universe works in plain English. That is the kind of stat that makes you spill your coffee. So today we are breaking down space and science vocabulary straight from NASA videos. Not the textbook stuff that makes your brain go numb. The real words that show up again and again when NASA folks talk about missions, launches, and discoveries. And trust me, most people get these totally wrong, even here in the United States, where we literally put people on the moon. This is for Brighton English BD, and for anyone who wants to sound like they know their stuff when the convo turns to space. Let us get into it. I am giving you 7 specific secrets that trip people up all the time. First secret, orbit is not what you think. Everybody thinks orbit means floating in a circle up there. Nah. Orbit is falling, straight up falling. The only reason the International Space Station does not crash into Texas is because it is moving sideways real fast, like 1,700 miles per hour fast. NASA astronauts say it all the time. They are in free fall. So next time someone says astronauts float because there's no gravity, you can hit them with the truth. There is gravity up there. A ton of it. They're just missing the Earth over and over. That is why NASA calls it microgravity, not zero gravity. Micro means tiny, not none. Americans mix that up every field trip to the Kennedy Space Center. Second secret, a light year is not time. I know, it sounds like time. Year is right there in the name. But NASA videos beat this one to death because even grown adults get it wrong on quiz shows. A light year is distance. It is how far light travels in 1 year, about 6 trillion miles. When NASA says the James Webb Telescope is looking at a galaxy 13 billion light years away, they mean the light from that galaxy took 13 billion years to get here. We are seeing ancient history. So if you tell your buddy it would take a light year to drive to Grandma's house, you just told them Grandma lives 6 trillion miles away. Good luck with gas prices. Third secret, theory and science does not mean guess. This one drives NASA scientists nuts. In the United States, we use theory to mean hunch, like I have a theory about why my dog eats socks, but in NASA, videos theory means something totally different. A scientific theory is an explanation that has been tested like crazy and still holds up. Gravity is a theory. Evolution is a theory. The Big Bang is a theory. That does not mean NASA is unsure. It means they have mountains of data and the explanation works. So when your uncle says is just a theory, you can smile and say, yeah, just like the theory of flight that keeps planes over Chicago every day. Fourth secret, rocket science is not all explosions and fire. NASA engineers love to point out that most of a mission is math and planning. The launch looks awesome on YouTube. 10 seconds of fire and noise. But behind that is 10 years of trajectories, propellant margins, and thermal limits. The word trajectory shows up in NASA videos constantly. It just means the path something takes, like a football thrown in a backyard. But in space, a tiny error in trajectory means you miss Mars by 1,000,000 miles. That is why NASA uses words like nominal. Nominal sounds fancy, but it just means everything is going as planned. If you hear nominal during a launch in Florida, that is good. If you hear off-nominal, go grab snacks because it is about to get spicy. Fifth secret, vacuum does not suck. Movies lied to you. In NASA videos, they explain that space is a vacuum, which means there is almost no stuff, no air. But it does not work like a vacuum cleaner. Space does not suck people out of airlocks. And what happens is the air inside you pushes out because pressure wants to balance. That is why NASA talks about pressure suits. The suit keeps your body at a normal pressure, so your blood does not boil. Yeah, boil. Without pressure, the boiling point of liquids drops. Your saliva would fizz on your tongue, gross but true. So when Hollywood shows people getting yanked into space like a Dyson, it is off. NASA knows the real danger is no pressure and no air. Sixth secret, dark matter and dark energy are not dark like black. NASA uses dark to mean unknown. We cannot see it. It does not give off light, but we know something is there because galaxies spin too fast and the universe is expanding faster than it should. In the United States, we make up like 5% of the universe with regular stuff. The rest is this dark stuff we do not get yet. NASA scientists will straight up say we have no clue what it is. That is honest science. It is not a conspiracy. It is a giant we do not know yet written across the sky. And that is kind of awesome. Seventh secret, Celsius and Kelvin are the NASA standard, but Americans still think in Fahrenheit. Watch any NASA video, and you will hear negative 250 degrees Celsius on the moon at night, or 273 Kelvin for absolute zero. NASA does not use Fahrenheit because science needs a scale that starts at zero energy. That is Kelvin. 0 Kelvin means no heat at all. Nothing moves. We have never hit it, not even in labs in California. So when NASA says a spacecraft has to survive crazy thermal swings, they mean going from 250 degrees Fahrenheit in the sun to negative 400 degrees Fahrenheit in shadow. In Celsius, that is 121 to negative 240. Your phone would quit at like 32 Fahrenheit. Perseverance is out there on Mars taking selfies in that mess. Now here is the relatable part. Learning this stuff feels like trying to parallel park for the first time. You think you get it. You watched your dad do it. Then you are behind the wheel, and suddenly the car is everywhere except the spot. That was me watching my first NASA launch breakdown. The commentator said the vehicle is performing a gravity turn and going nominal, and I nodded like, yeah, totally. Meanwhile, my brain was buffering. Gravity turn sounds like a roller coaster move. It is not. It is when the rocket leans over slowly, so it uses Earth's gravity to help steer into orbit. Saves fuel. Smart. But nobody explained that in school. They just said rockets go up. My personal stake is this. I grew up in a small town where the only space talk was the Space Jam movie. Then I found NASA videos at 2 a.m. during a college finals week meltdown. A flight director was talking about scrub turnaround, and Max Q and I realized these were just words. Words I could learn. Scrub means launch canceled. Turnaround means how long until they can try again. Max Q is maximum dynamic pressure, where the rocket gets squeezed the hardest by the air. It happens about a minute after launch. If the rocket survives Max Q, it can usually make it to space. That bit of vocab changed how I watched launches. I was not just watching fire, I was watching a checklist of moments each with its own name. NASA videos are full of these gems: apogee and perigee, highest point and lowest point of an orbit. Elliptical just means oval-shaped. Deploy means unfold like solar panels. Telemetry is the health data coming from the spacecraft. Downlink is sending that data to Earth. Uplink is us sending commands up. A sol is a Mars day, which is 24 hours and 39 minutes. So if you lived on Mars, your sleep schedule would be trash forever. Here's another one. Payload sounds like a video game term. In NASA speak, payload is the stuff the rocket carries. Could be a satellite, could be astronauts, could be freeze-dried ice cream for the crew on the space station. The rocket itself is not the payload. The rocket is the launch vehicle. Americans mix that up all the time on launch day streams. They say the payload launched. Nope. The vehicle launched, the payload was inside. And do not get me started on retrograde. In everyday talk, retro means old school. In NASA videos, retrograde means rotating or orbiting backward compared to most stuff. Venus spins retrograde. That means the sun rises in the west there, wild. Look, I am not a scientist. I am just a guy from the United States who binged too many NASA webcasts instead of sleeping. But these words matter because they change how you see the news. When Artemis goes back to the moon, you will hear words like lunar orbit rendezvous. That just means two spacecraft meet up around the moon. Like docking in a parking lot, but the parking lot is moving 3,600 miles per hour. When they say cryogenic propellant, they mean super cold fuel. like negative 423 Fahrenheit cold. That is liquid hydrogen. It gives more bang for the buck, but it boils off fast. So they have to launch quick once fueling starts. The point is, NASA is not speaking alien. They are using regular words in specific ways. Once you know the vocab, the videos go from confusing to addictive. You start catching jokes from flight controllers. You notice when they say we are go for launch and the whole room claps. Go means yes. No go means problems. It is that simple. So yeah, space is hard, but the language does not have to be. Most of us in the United States grew up thinking space words were for geniuses in lab coats. Nah, they are for anyone with YouTube and curiosity. NASA puts it all out there for free. Hours of astronauts explaining docking with their hands, engineers drawing orbits on whiteboards, flight directors saying things like, we are working the problem, which means they have an issue and they are fixing it live. And that brings me to the question I want to leave you with. If NASA dropped all this knowledge for free and we still get basic words like theory and orbit wrong, do we actually want to understand space, or do we just like the idea of it? Think about that, and next time you see a NASA video, drop a comment with one of these words used right. Let us see if the United States can level up its space vocab together.